know, it felt like there were obviously opportunities for the offense tonight. There were definitely some positives. You guys get on base, but really just unable to kind of execute when need be. What were you seeing from this group, and how do you take a game like this where it feels like maybe you're kind of moving in the right direction, but you guys are still kind of at this offensive standstill, essentially?
Yeah, tonight was one of those nights where, if you look at tonight separately, we put double-digit hits up there. We had a chance for a big inning with the bases loaded, nobody out. We ended up putting 2 runs on the board, where you'd like to come out with a couple more. But yeah, it was good to see Max continue to do what he's been doing, and see Teo have some good at bats, and Will threw out a couple hits today, which was good. And so I just think that the effort, the focus was there. I thought the fight was there, and we're gonna come out of it. It's frustrating while you're in it, but we just have too much talent and too much desire to keep doing this for much longer. But yeah, tonight is the one I felt that we had the pitching as far as the pen lined up, and I felt we were gonna break out, and we had an opportunity to get to their pen, so it just didn't happen. But I still feel, encouraged about some things tonight.
It's clear that he's trying to get back on track offensively. He's now taken batting practice twice within a week. You've talked in the past with other guys about giving them just like a mental break when they're struggling. Is that something that you would consider with him right now?
Yes, yeah. He's pitching on Wednesday, and I haven't decided if he's going to, one of those days he's not going to hit. So I haven't decided that. But yeah, as far as on top of that, it's certainly, given what we're asking of him on the pitching side, it's a fair question. I haven't decided on that, but it certainly should be on the table.
One of those days, maybe Wednesday or Thursday?
Correct.
This is out of whack, as you've seen.
Yes, it is. It is. It is. I think even early on when he wasn't, right, he was still taking walks and getting on base. Where I think right now, and tonight was a classic example, I think he's just trying to swing out of it. And so that's just apparent. And a lot of hitters, when they are scuffling, they want to kind of swing out of it. And so tonight was one of those nights.
Is that a good thing or a bad thing for your doing this?
Not, I think I think the thought is understandable, but when you're a really dangerous hitter, and pitchers are not going to give in to you, then it's really not a good mindset, because you sort of got to take what they give you. And so tonight they clearly weren't going to give in to him, and he took the bait tonight.
Yeah, we're seeing a lot of him ground outs to the right side of the infield. Why do you think that is?
I think just over anxiousness. I really do. I think that today on the field he was trying to work to the big part of the field, and I thought had a good practice on the field. And then I think even just kind of just seeing every single at bat that he's taken this year, it just seems like there's a lot more balls to the pull side, a lot more balls on the right side of the infield than there has been the last couple of years. So that's kind of telling me that there's a little over anxiousness, in my opinion.
When you watched his BP today, could you tell like something's a little bit off still?
No, you know what? I thought the BP, the intent was good. I thought the homers to the big part of the field were really good. And then just in the game, it just sort of, reverted back to what it's been.
You guys have talked about this kind of feeling like one of those stretches of the season that every team goes through. Like, what's the thing that gives you that feeling as you're kind of watching this, continue to linger right now?
I think it's more of a lot of history, just kind of knowing that, you look at teams and you look at the teams that we've had, and every year we sort of go through it, and really every team goes through it, and it's not fun when you're going through it, but you've just got to remain positive. You do. And I think that building on some wins and knowing that the guys are working, that it'll turn. And it always has, and so that's kind of what I'm hanging my hat on.
Have you seen the at-bat quality change in some of those situations where you have kind of built innings but haven't really cashed in all the way?
You know, I have, but it's kind of a lot of the guys are culprits at different times, and so it's not like one person, and it's just a big situation comes up, and tonight we ground to a double play. And so, you know, Andy's not the only person that's done that. So it's kind of, you know, when it's not going well, it seems to kind of show itself in big spots. And then when it's going well, you know, you get fortunate, ball finds a hole or play's not made or you hit a homer. So you just got to kind of remain the course, stay the course.
What did you see out of Bessie in that sixth inning?
Yeah, you know, he had count leverage, I think, on all those guys, and he just couldn't, you know, outside the catcher in that first at bat, he couldn't put those guys away. You know, he's been very good for us this year. Lee pulls a ball through the hole, then Arise gets ahead of Arise, and he hits a fastball up at the top of the zone. Schmidt had count leverage, hits a fastball top of the zone, and then he walks Devers. So yeah, he's been very good, but tonight he just couldn't put the hitters away.
Dave, you had 3 straight days of like someone, for lack of a better term, wearing it on the mound. Is it hard to get out of that cycle when you're kind of going through it every single night like that?
It's not fun, but I think that, you know, when you're in the stretch of 13 in a row, when you don't have, you know, the game is not essentially in the balance, or I feel that I'm trying to win the war and not the battle, you know, that's kind of the role of certain guys. And the other day, Gervais did a great job, and today, you know, MiLB just, you know, couldn't find the zone. And but what I will say is that I feel very good about how we're lined up tomorrow, and that's part of it, you know. And just instead of chasing a loss, you know, because it all, you know, regardless of the score, you know, are still one loss in the loss column. So, yeah, it's never good to have a guy wear it, and I just want to make sure that I'm taking care of their health. But as far as kind of, as long as that's not kind of compromised, that's part of it.
Seems like Rocky's in the zone more consistently the last couple. What does he have to do to kind of translate that into just better overall results?
You know, I don't know. I think that Roky's been good. I really do. You know, he got into the 6th inning and he gives up a grounder to Schmidt, a ball into the bat to Devers, and then, you know, a changeup that Ramos hooks down the line. So he had enough pitches to get through the 6th inning, and it could have been a 6th inning 1-run outing. So I'm not going to look at a grounder that gets, you know, by the third baseman make it a bad outing. I think Roky's certainly doing his part.